I wanted you to see what real courage is. Instead of getting the idea that courage is a man with a gun in his hand, it's when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway, and you see it through, no matter what. Now, Atticus Finch says these words to his son Jem in Harper Lee's 1960 novel, To Kill a Mockingbird. And whilst it is an imperfect narrative and potentially a problematic one, it certainly has a lot of lessons for us to take away. The novel is set in 1936 Alabama, and it deals with the issues of racialized violence, prejudice, and deep-seated discrimination. Atticus wants his children to understand the value of real courage. Courage does not mean a hyper-masculine or violent expression of strength. It doesn't mean wielding power as a weapon, like a gun in your hand. It means finding the power within you, the power to do the right thing. That is real courage. That is real strength. And it's a great privilege to be part of this celebration today during LGBTQ plus History Month here in the UK, and also Black History Month across the other side of the Atlantic. And I look around me, and I have been, because I've been sitting right there, so I've been looking around me quite a lot all afternoon, and I see a sea of faces. I see people who are different, who are diverse, who are proud of who they are. I see power to make a difference, to help shape a better and more equitable world. And I see courage, courage to do the right thing. Now, by now we're used to hearing talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, and how it's good for business and the business case for DEI. We've also heard from certain billionaires, who I won't name, with immense power, that DEI must die. And this sort of debate is far too tired and old, and it's far too binary. And I think in this room, we can safely say that we are none of the above. Not tired, and certainly not binary. So, do we really need a business case for equity other than it's the right thing to do? Because profit and a focus on profit divides us, but a focus on purpose unites us and brings us together. Now, for nearly a decade and a half, I've had the privilege of being in rooms where I could change the narrative, sometimes by just being in the room, sometimes by doing something, and sometimes by speaking up. From moving to the UK in 2005 and thinking I would finally meet other queer people at uni, to discover that I was the only non-white person in the room at LGBTQ Freshers Week's drinks, except that at that time it was LGB, there was no T or Q in the name. From wanting to have a career in the theater and film and being told in around 2007, 2008, when Slumdog Millionaire came out, and being told that the only roles that really I could play were taxi driver or terrorist or IT guy. And all the roles that I could play were already taken by Dev Patel anyway, so why try? From being asked whether I was actually gay or just foreign, to taking a career in the city and being mistaken for the other Indian guy in the office. My presence has always been a provocation, but of course it's also come with privilege because I've had access to incredible rooms, and of course I'm an immigrant, I'm a gay man, but also I'm a man, and so certain doors open to me that don't open to my colleagues who don't happen to have that kind of privilege. But what I've also seen is change, and change has come slowly but surely. From setting up the first LGBTQ and racial diversity networks at my firm, certain people in the room here who I know we've had conversations about that, to helping in the cause of decriminalization and more recently marriage equality in India, one of which we won after trying the first time, losing, and then trying again. And I should say the lawyers do a great job, and I'm a lawyer, so I'll say that, but it was really the activists who, way before I was even born, were on the ground trying to make that change happen. The case of marriage equality, we lost this time around, we'll win next time. And to bringing business and civil society leaders together for the UN. Cliff was there when we did that in Berlin a couple of years ago, or at Davos. What I have really learned is not the power of binary opposition, but of building coalitions, of reaching across, of finding common ground. Because things only get better if we stand together. Now, Martin Luther King Jr., speaking in 1967 to the American Psychological Association, which a couple of years later reclassified homosexuality as not being a mental condition, said, on some positions, cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience must ask the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a stand that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must take it because it is right. Now, in this room, we have leaders from the world of media, culture, business, industry, politics, influencers, I see you, influencers in the room, people who make and define taste and culture, who decide what's hot and what's not, people whose collective power is literally limitless. Now, if you can change the way someone cuts their hair, or the make or model of the car that they buy, the clothes they wear, or the news that they read, you have the power to move them. You have the power to make them think differently about themselves and about others and about their actions. And at a time when we're living in a world that is way more divided than we would like it to be, way more polarized, where trust in institutions is at an all-time low, don't even get me started on politics, we need you, all of you in this room, our leaders, our influencers, our tastemakers, to step into the breach and make a difference. You are the ones who are already doing it. You hold families and workplaces to account and society to higher standards. You show courage, and you show those who might lack this courage that they are not alone. Because there is more courage in showing vulnerability than there is in showing brute strength. And we often talk about allies in the LGBTQ community, but we really must realize that we also have to be allies. So the fight for equality does not belong to us. You are at risk of discrimination or harassment because you're gay, but even more so if you're a woman, if you're bi, if you're a person of color, even more so if you are trans or intersex or gender diverse. And true justice really means fighting for the rights of all, for women, for people of color, for immigrants, for refugees, for people from disadvantaged backgrounds, for people with disabilities, for the trans community, for all of us to have equality of opportunity, freedom from persecution, violence, and hate, because that is true justice, and it is really a concept of justice that really makes us human. You in this room have the power to do that. You have it in your hands to change the world for better. You have a platform to use for those who are like you, and also for those who are not. Because the most powerful advocate for equality is someone who speaks for the rights of others. But you begin anyway and see it through no matter what, says Atticus Finch. Why? Well, because it's the right thing to do. So let's do it together. Thank you.